Okay, so we're almost there with implementing the whole thing in this manner of tests that tell a story. Today we wrote the stories of that are a bit more on the top of the transactions. We are logging the transactions, and then we see how the logs look like. I reminded myself, and we talked a bit about this idea of humane interface versus minimal interface. And I think this is a very interesting and useful concept that I am using when I'm teaching API design and or microservices workshops, because it helps a lot. And it helps you understand what do you want. And as always with design, you need to choose. You need to choose in between options, and sometimes some options are better, sometimes other options are better, but you never have the perfect silver bullet, right? I think it's a very nice way. There's a lot to read on Martin Fowler's blog about humane interface and minimal interface, and in many other places as well. So how about you? How was this?
I really enjoyed this session. I really like that we at least two times we had to stop when we were writing our test to talk about design. And I love when this happens because it really shows that writing tests is really the hard part. And this is where you make choices. And I like that we realized that we were making choices. This is not something that we always do. Sometimes we rush to writing a test and don't realize that actually when we write the test this way, we are making a big decision. And so today it was really obvious that we were doing this, and I really enjoyed these times. I also liked that we went some direction, and then somehow when we wrote more code, we saw that this was not the best direction we could have taken. Like we have something that is called transaction log, but that should be not named this way. This is something else. And at first we didn't really know what it would be, and now it's more clear because we have written more tests and written more code, and we have learned more about the domain and how we see this. Yes, I always enjoy leading this thing because this is really what I think software development is: learning by doing. And yes, I always struggle trying to explain this to people that don't write code or that don't live this, because this is really when you do this that you realize that this is some part of the nature of what we do.
I think you mentioned something very interesting about taking decisions and knowing that you take them. That's this idea of being very deliberate. I find it very difficult to teach to people, or to even explain it to many programmers, because quite often design happens, and then when I ask why did you take this decision, it's like, I don't know, it just happened. So that's not deliberate, that's just a design that happens. I don't really like it when that happens, because sometimes it can go well, sometimes not. Sometimes people have the instinct and say, I don't know exactly why I did that, but I chose this option. From my experience, it was the good one. But the instinct is sometimes good and sometimes it's not good. So
yes, I really think it's a very important topic, making sure that you are doing something because you have chosen to do it. And also I think that the more you train yourself, the more choices you see and the more choices you can take. Like when you make a decision and you don't know why, it's maybe because you didn't know about alternatives.
Yes.
And if you've trained yourself enough, then you see that at this point you can take several paths, and then it's more obvious that you have to choose something.
And you almost always have options. If anyone tells you that this is the only option, it's either that they're lying or they don't know better. So you always have options. Sometimes they might be weird because you haven't used that, or weird because they are really weird, but you always have options.
Yes, I really find this exercise of before you make a choice, name 3 solutions.
Yes.
It's really cool, and doing it with a team when you're working on production code is actually really helpful.
Yeah. I think I wrote a few years back a blog post calling Solution Seeker.
Yes.
So you seek at least 3 solutions before starting anything. I used it sometimes especially for junior programmers or very senior programmers. That's where I think it's very useful.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's all for me.
Okay, then thank you so much for pairing with me today, and until next time, as always, have fun coding.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.